What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and I've got a great episode in store for you. It is Friday, May 5th, so Cinco de Mayo here at the Koffler Center at Bryant University in the, at the WJMF radio station. So I got some great things to talk about with you guys tonight from the Red Sox, just on an absolute heater right now, 6-game win streak. Also, we're going to talk about Celtics Game 3, give a little preview going into there, and then finally end the show off with a little bit of a kind of humor and kind of have some fun with that. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, I want to welcome on a guest of the show. I've known this kid since my freshman year in college. Yeah, it's been a minute. So I'll keep it nice and short. I'll actually just get into it straight with the intro. Please welcome to the show, Chris Condon. Chris, glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's an honor to finally be on the show. Been an avid listener, and thank you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. So yeah, we've known each other since freshman year. I remember how we met. It was a fantasy football league that you orchestrated and started.
Oh yeah. That's right.
And I remember, I was living in Warren at the time, and I was living with Jake and next to Jake and Tyler, and they say hey, this Chris kid is doing a fantasy football league. Do you want to join it? And I was like, yeah, sure, man, let's do this. And I remember we go over to Bristol, and I'm not expecting anything. And I remember you come down, and you were just all business. It was all right, you guys better be all in. I want let's get this thing off to the races. And I was oh, this kid's for real. I dig this kid. So I remember I was like, this is the commissioner. I could tell immediately. And I was like,
at your service.
I was like, let's freaking go. So Chris, I know you're a massive Red Sox fan, as am I. We actually worked together at the Worcester Red Sox this past summer. You were in security, or ushering. Sorry, yeah, not security.
No.
you weren't checking bags and doing all that stuff. You were just kind of that friendly face around the ball.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that you were there until it was one day I was walking back to my section and I see you. I'm like, what? And yeah, it was. I enjoyed myself while I was there. I mean, it was a good time. Didn't really get much AAA action. It was good to see the different side of MLB that you don't see on a day-to-day basis from the professional side. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that was my perspective on it too. I know that when I started, I actually worked for the Woo Sox Foundation this past summer. I'm actually gonna be working with them again. Are you going back?
That's up in the air right now, depending on where I land for a job. But if I'm in Massachusetts, then that's where I'll probably be heading in the later end days. But
yeah, I'm going back there. Since I'm doing grad school in the fall, I figured just no place is gonna really hire me full time. So I'm gonna go back there, do that, and then kind of get into the grind once we get back to school. So it'll be fun. I'm excited for it. Love those people there. So
100%.
It's a great environment too. It seems very small, but then you actually realize that there are really big name celebrities that are, either just at the games or walking through the facilities each day. I remember, getting involved at kind of going to the day of game meetings. So going into those, and they would just everyone would roll in. It would seem very casual. And then in walks Larry Lucchino, who, is the owner of the team. And I'm like, holy crap, that's freaking Larry Lucchino, one of the pioneers behind the 2004 Red Sox and all those great teams. And, he's just wearing khaki shorts, strolling in, having a great time. I'm like,
it's hard for you to not be a fanboy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Especially when Chris Sale was there, you had to keep you calm. Granted, he did not, but we digress. And then I guess Coco Crisp was at a game as a scout too. Fans didn't know that. I didn't know that until the PA announcers announced it and people started going towards him. But our staff had to be there and
ready to
block off the section because he was there he was working. He wasn't there as a fan. He wasn't there to take autographs or anything like that. But
no, he was doing his business. So,
yeah.
No, that's really cool. And I mean, there are people even outside of sports too that have shown up there. I know that Big Baby Glenn Davis was he was at the diner one day. They had a bunch of other people come to the park too. So it's been in the middle of Worcester, they get pretty big names at this place.
Oh yeah, they're really trying to turn that whole entire city around, and It's good to hear. It's good to see.
Yeah.
And since being a Worcester native, it's kind of nice
Yeah.
that they're expanding, and although people from here are not fond of the idea of the Pawtucket Red Sox turning into the Worcester Red Sox, it is what it is. It was a business decision, and I feel like it'll drag more traction into the city of Worcester and people away, because I feel like they were due for an upgrade in the stadium. I don't know if you've been to McCoy
Yeah.
Field or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I went to McCoy a lot when I was younger. Actually, um, I went there for a couple games. I actually remember back when I did karate, I actually did a demo there. So like
Okay.
that video still online somewhere. Someone can pull that thing up. But yeah, like I went to I used to go there a lot. Listen, I'll say this, once you were in McCoy Stadium, you had a great time. But the walk from the parking lot to McCoy Stadium, top 5 scariest walks I've probably ever taken in my life. Like you didn't know what was going to happen at any single moment. Once you got through the turnstiles or once you got into your car, you felt great. Every moment in between that, you were on pins and needles, just scared for your life.
I had been to McCoy once. It was either just before 4th of July. I think a season or two before they had stopped going there, but I been there. I was with close friends of mine, and they invited me, and they had press box seats.
Oh wow!
Now their press boxes are on field level seats, unlike at Fenway where it's up above, and we were on the right on the third base side, and they were playing the Yankees. Ironically, I don't remember if they won or not, but it was definitely an interesting thing to have for never experienced a minor league park or a minor league game before. But overall, I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed my time this summer with the Woo Sox because it was a different vibe, and it was a uh, more family friendly vibe than a more professional. Like they had their in between innings and music and fireworks and catch on the field, and
you had the battle balls.
Oh yeah,
with the interns. Yeah. I wanted to get in one of those so bad. The kids that I worked with, they got a chance to do it. I didn't get a shot. I wanted to get on the field and do that. I was so mad.
Did you try talking to your boss?
To Alex?
Yeah. Oh, was it Alex?
It was Alex and Sabria probably, okay. But like it just didn't work out. I honestly wasn't there enough to probably like earn that. But it was a ton of fun though. I really I enjoyed my time with them. And yeah, like going back to McCoy and all that stuff. I remember I got to see a Carl Crawford rehab start. I got to see Clay Buchholz when he was like still good. Clay Buchholz, not like 2015, 2016 Clay Buchholz. I'm like talking 2013 when the guy was an all-star. So that was really cool. And then, even seeing some of the prospects come through that system. I remember seeing like Mookie Betts' AAA debut, and he went crazy in that game. He had like a triple. He was going off. I think they put up like 18 runs that game. They were insane.
That's the beauty of going to a minor league game, especially like AAA, where they're so close to getting the majors, and you get an autograph, and next thing you know,
the guy's a stud.
The guy's a stud, and you have a like $500,000 signature right there.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, like I know for myself, getting to work with the Woo Sox this summer, you saw that, and being in those dog meetings and talking with those people, and for dog again just stands for day of game for you guys over there. But yeah, just being in those meetings, and I remember that like whenever a top prospect would be coming through the system or it was a rehab start, everyone was like everyone would basically say, hey, we need to be on our A game. So like when Brian Bayo finally got to the team, a Bayo start in Worcester last year was like the number one thing like on people's like radar. Like if Bayo was starting, people were like, all right, like everyone needs to be in place. Everyone needs to be executing this because people are going to be at the ballpark for this. So
especially for that Chris Sale first game, that first rehab assignment,
that was crazy.
Oh my gosh. The berm was packed. Like, I heard you couldn't even walk. There was no same thing with the within the bowl. Like you couldn't walk anywhere because people were just, even if they didn't have a seat, they were just crowding the area.
Yeah.
And then same thing this year, was hard to walk around. Granted, he didn't perform up to the capability that everyone wanted him to.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and he made that start, and that was his only start, and people ended up leaving afterwards. But
I'll tell you this, when he took out that TV in the dugout, I remember like I don't know if it was like the next day or at least like I think it might have been honestly the next day because I didn't hear about it until I was like working something for a summer camp at the time. And I remember someone like showed me the videos like you got to be kidding me. And like the next time I go in the office, which I think was the next day, everyone was just like not talking. Everyone was just quiet. And I was just like, hey, so how about how about yesterday? And they were like, do not say a thing. Do not say a thing. Yeah. It was funny. Like they eventually everyone kind of learned to love it and laugh at it, but it was really funny in that moment. But I don't know. But yeah, you get over to I would definitely say I'm gonna be back there this summer. It's gonna be a ton of fun. I'm excited for it. And yeah, I mean, you get to see the stars of tomorrow go to make an impact with the Red Sox, and to kind of get into the Red Sox, they're on an absolute tear right now.
God.
6-game win streak. They're playing amazing. Haven't lost in the month of May, albeit only 5 days in. But hey, we'll take what we can get.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been a great start so far. I'll say this, Chris. I thought this was going to be a lost season. And not the fact that I'm saying that the Red Sox are World Series contenders, blah, blah, blah. I still don't believe that. I still have questions as to whether they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I thought by this season we were going to be seeing, just like a disaster unfolding in front of us. Maybe not Oakland A's level, but yeah.
It started out that way, I will admit. It started out that way to a point where they seemed like they couldn't pitch. And yet pitching is still a concern for them.
Mm-hmm.
But their bullpen secret weapons have come into the fold.
Yeah.
Josh Winkowski has become an elite threat in the seventh or eighth inning. And then our key signing in Kenley Jansen has been like fantastic.
Oh my God.
Although he has been dealing with a lot of back stiffness, I believe, which is why he hasn't been there past couple of games. But the offense hasn't needed him to be. They've been on a positive run differential, and it's come to a point where you're like, wow. And I myself thought once Adam Duvall went down in the
I thought that was it. I thought we were cooked at that point because he was like the heart and soul of the lineup. He was when he was healthy, he was the hottest hitter in all of baseball.
Oh yeah,
he was insane to start the year, and I knew that wasn't going to last. But a lot of people predicted that maybe he could have a similar type of year that Hunter Renfroe had for the Red Sox in 2021. And I was like, hey, if that's what we can get, I'm down for that. So
I agree.
But when he went down, that I thought our chances were absolutely just blown at that point. And I'll give it to this team. They've come together. They've been resilient, and they haven't quit yet. So I'll give them credit for that. You mentioned Kenley Jansen, though. Minus the back stiffness, he has turned back the clock. He looks amazing right now. I know he's only 35 years old, but he's pitching like he's 25.
He's touching like 96 on his cutter, and he's been just himself.
Yes,
yeah.
So far to start the year, he has 6 saves, a 1.04 ERA.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
Minus that one bad outing that he blew the save from. I'll admit this, it wasn't his fault. I blame Ryan Brazier, but many people are on that same idea. But it's good to have a closer back in Boston. I will say that.
Oh my God. You talk about like the golden years of like having you had Jonathan Papelbon in town, then 2013 through 16 when it was like Koji Mania.
Yep.
And then, even when you had Craig Kimbrell locking it down, and he was kind of up and down at times.
He was up and down, but he
was on, he was electric.
Oh yeah, I'll admit that was a good trade by Dave Dombrowski.
Oh, yeah.
That man was on fire, and I really, really do wish that they kept him, but I understand for future reasons why. Hopefully it ends up working out.
Are you talking about Dombrowski or Kimbrell?
Dombrowski.
So keeping Dombrowski.
Yeah, I would have preferred to keep Dombrowski.
I would have too, yeah.
To keep the winning alive, but
no,
I understand where the front office wanted to go.
I think it's a question at this point. You should have kept Dombrowski because from what we can see with the guys he's drafted, Casas was a Dombrowski guy. A lot of these guys that have gotten drafted were Dombrowski guys, and I know that he has like the reputation of going into a franchise, gutting all the prospects, and
which
then
he did.
Yeah,
which he did.
He did. But I think like
it comes at a cost.
Yeah, and I understand that Chaim Bloom was brought in to potentially like remedy that, but I really don't think he has.
No, I've had this argument with so many people, and Bloom has been on that Tampa Ray kind of style.
Yeah.
But the difference with Tampa Bay is they're able to fix the broken starters and we're pitching and hitters. Now we've been successful with the hitters, but pitching is where you win games.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be reliant on the offenses because especially if you get cold in the offense, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Whether that's fixing Chris Sale's bad start, whether it's fixing Kluber's poor command, because he's been
Kluber's a mess. I don't think he's ever going to be right.
That's because he lost the beard. That's why.
Sure, that's why it is. I mean, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot more missing with him than just his beard.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, but I think he's a basket case. I think he's toast. But I do wonder though. Do you think Chris Sale is done? Do you think he can get back to form?
Well, he is pitching tonight, so we'll have to find out that. I was listening just before on the radio today, that he's had 2 good starts and then 2 dumpster fires.
Yeah.
He was back to his old form in
he's starting to remind me of later stage Clay Buchholz, where and not in terms of stuff. It's just that there's been this one quote, I think it was from Bob Costas. It was in the I think the Red Sox were facing the Astros, or I think it was the Astros at the time, and Buchholz was on the mound, and it was either 16 or 17, and they're facing the Astros. And Costas says in response to Buchholz, the one thing I'll tell you about Clay Buchholz, it's that he's consistently inconsistent. And it's just, you never, ever know what you're going to get from him. He doesn't get on a hot streak. He doesn't get on a cold streak. It's literally, he just gets out of bed in the morning, flips a coin and says, all right, I'm either going to be a Cy Young candidate today, or I'm just going to be a dumpster fire, like you said.
Which isn't what you want in a starting pitcher.
It's horrific.
But you also have to remember, the man has not pitched more than 130 innings in 4 years. Basically, since he got that new contract. It's things like that you need to remember, that he's dealt with the voodoo doll stuff and
voodoo doll stuff. What are you referring to?
When Chaim Bloom said somebody needs to find Chris Sale's voodoo doll from all the injuries that he's had.
Oh yeah.
And I should have framed it as an injury issue, but he's coming back. He's trying to get himself back into form, which is what he did last game. He pitched the most amount of innings that he pitched at 6 2/3, I think it was, 5 Ks, which, is average, but not really Chris Sale average. But I feel like he has the room to be great. I feel like he can be himself this year. It's just a matter of him getting there.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Chris Sale. It's always just been about, it's the physical thing has always been a problem with him, because he's 6'6", maybe weighs 130 pounds soaking wet. Like, that's not going to help you out. Like, the guy needs to eat a burger. Like, he really does. But the other issue with him is that, he can have all the injuries that he has, but the biggest challenge comes between his ears. Yep. And I think he's such a mess on the field sometimes. And like,
he needs to keep his cool. He can't be smashing TVs every time he gets pissed off.
Yeah, he can't be smashing TVs. And you also can't be like going to the media after getting shelled in a bad start and saying like, this is the most embarrassed I've ever been on a baseball field in my life. I'm like, really, dude? This is like, okay, like, grow the hell up. Like, you've had worse starts than this. So like, he needs to get off his soapbox and actually just learn how to pitch again.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. He needs to drown out the noise. He needs to more focus on throwing the ball at the 96 mile per hour rate that he does.
Yeah. I mean, And here's the thing. I'll say this too. It isn't necessarily about the velocity. It's about the movement.
Because if that movement, especially on the sliders, great. He can throw that backdoor slider perfectly.
Slider's fine. Yeah, and the slider movement I don't have an issue with. It's the fastball movement, because you can pump 96, 98, hell, even 100 miles an hour. But if it's flat, hitters like the hitters are good enough now that they can pick up on that. Like, like you 20 years ago, you could probably throw 100 miles an hour flat as can be. Most hitters aren't going to touch it.
Yeah.
The game has gotten so much better now. If you do that and there's not an ounce of movement on that, that might get hit into the second deck. Like,
lucky,
which is crazy just because of how good these hitters are now. So he's got to just figure out how to get more movement back on his fastball and just remain consistent.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And I don't know what the Sox need to do with that, whether that's, kind of, I don't know, not innings management, but something along those lines to where, like, don't let it, like, just try to build up a kind of a pattern with him, some sort of rapport, and like try to keep it consistent throughout the way.
I agree with, they need to try to find that consistency, like you mentioned. Yeah. And I feel like today's start against the Phillies, a deep Phillies lineup, granted they're 15-7 on the year, which isn't the great start that you want for a reigning National League.
Yeah, 15-7 ain't too shabby. I mean, they
are worse teams,
but I mean, they started the year absolutely horrid.
Oh yeah.
So like the fact that they're 15-7 after all this is pretty impressive.
I agree. I agree.
Like, as they started the year horrible, and now Bryce Harper's coming back from his Tommy John surgery after just like 150 days, which is remarkable. So I think they're about to possibly catch fire. I think they're in okay shape.
I will say this though. I'm watching the Sox game while we're speaking here to keep up with the live feed. Chris Sale, as we're speaking right now, has thrown back-to-back 98.5 mile per hour pitches, one a sinker and one a fastball.
Okay.
So he's got the velo. He's amped up, which is something that we want. But again, ear-to-ear thing, he could easily get that out of control.
Yeah, that's his big issue right now. And like, I mean, I grew up playing baseball against a lot of kids, and like, I'll tell you this, I could be a head case myself when I was playing baseball, and I
agree.
And to say, and like you see this on radio shows all the time, where like sports commentators, like they have professional athletic experience, and they're trying to relate to that. I can't relate to what it's like to be Chris Sale and to perform in that moment. But from what I know, I've played against enough athletes to where they can have all the talent in the world, but if you get in their head, you can ruin them.
Yep.
And that's unfortunately the deal with Chris Sale. If you get in his head, he can't figure it out.
No.
So that's the big thing with him. Hopefully he can work that out. But there are some other great points, some other great high points on this team as well this year. One I really wanted to talk about was Masataka Yoshida. He's going crazy right now. I mean,
14-game hitting streak as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, rookie, 27 years old or 20. Yeah, he's
27. Yep.
So like, I mean, the guy's in the prime of his career, so he's not a baby out there.
He's not a baby, but in major league terms, he is a baby because this is his first year in the majors coming from Japan.
Yeah. And I mean, he had really high expectations coming over here. And, for the contract we gave him, people were trying to say like 5 years, 90 million for this guy. Like, what the hell is Masataka Yoshida? And he's proven everyone wrong right now. We got to see a little taste of him in the WBC where he played, where he was a hero there.
Oh yeah.
And now he's looking absolutely fantastic for the Sox. Started the year kind of cold, but he's turning it on now. He's hitting 317.
Yeah. They tweaked his stance, and since they did that, he went back to back. He had a 2-homer game in Milwaukee. He's been hitting doubles all over the field. He's been just all over the place. It's been something to really keep your eye on, and especially early in the season.
Yeah, I ended up seeing a thing on Twitter as to what they, at least a little bit as to what they did with the hands. So for the most part, Yoshida's hands used to be really kind of elevated above his head.
Yep.
Since he's gotten hotter, they've lowered them down to where they're more at like shoulder height.
Okay.
So what they're doing in that kind of by doing that, they're trying to shorten up his swing, take out the extra motion, and just say like, hey, you're good enough at making contact with the ball. Because I think even when he was struggling, he was still making contact, but he was just hitting weak grounders.
He wouldn't strike out a lot, which is great. But the contact, he was just hitting the contact, hitting the ball right to the people.
Yeah. So I think by bringing the hands down, it's having him at least from what I know, it allows him to get on the ball quicker and then, hit the ball into gaps, get the ball in the air. And, the big thing now is launch angle. So that probably helps with that as well. And, we're seeing that with the power numbers.
100%. 100%.
So he's looking great in that area. So I don't know, Chris, do you think this team can compete for a wild card spot? As of right now, they're in the running for it. I think they have the final spot.
Yep, they have this number 6 spot with the new way though.
New format.
Yep, with a new format. And I feel like if they keep their run up right now, not to jinx anything, but they're up 1-0 on the Phils, which is nice to see. I feel like if they keep it up and pitching gets better and key guys come from, like, they still have James Paxton in AAA.
I mean, but I have to ask you, does James Paxton even exist? I've been hearing about James Paxton now for 2 goddamn years, and I haven't seen the guy. I know he's hurt. I know what it is, but like everyone's saying like, hey, James Paxton, he'll be back any day now. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And they also, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like they can if they keep up their hot streak, and they won't be able to win all the rest of the games in the season. That's impossible. But if they have that gritty mentality. They have that type of team that doesn't give up, which is always good to see. And right now, I feel like after what happened in Boston a couple days ago with their sports teams, I feel like that's what they need.
I mean, I was listening to 98.5 the other day at work, and someone, some caller got on there, and he ended up saying, "Yeah, guys, if you were to tell me that the team that the team in Boston I would have the most faith in right now is the Boston Red Sox, I would think you guys would be on drugs."
Yep.
Like it's insane. So I can't believe it either. It's pretty remarkable how quickly this is all changed. But I think that they can compete, which I did not think when Xander Bogaerts left this team, when Nathan Eovaldi went to Texas. I was like, we are absolutely screwed right now.
Yeah.
But I think you have good enough pieces. And like you said, if the offense can stay this consistent, which I find hard to believe, I don't think that you can stay this hot for this long. Eventually you will hit a cold spell. It just happens to every team. But yeah, like the pitching is going to have to pick it up. And I don't know, maybe that's keeping things within house in the organization. Maybe that's going out and seeing if you could get a guy on the free agent market or make a trade. One guy I've seen on the that hit the free agent market a couple weeks ago, and there were originally talks about maybe taking a flyer on him, was Madison Bumgarner. I know he got DFA'd by the D-backs, and listen, he's been absolutely atrocious in Arizona since he's gotten there, but the guy has a World Series pedigree. He's pitched in big moments. If you're the Red Sox, would you, if you were Chaim Bloom and you're the GM, would you take a shot on Bumgarner, or are you out on him? Yeah.
His heart was in San Diego.
Yeah.
I mean, not San Diego, San Francisco. Excuse me. That's where he earned his piece.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's hard to somebody who has had that pedigree in one place. It's hard to take that away from them. And granted, when he signed with the Diamondbacks, I thought they hit the moon, they hit the jackpot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to have that, and he just hasn't had that stuff. He's been having issues with, I think, his velo. I haven't read too much on Matt Baum, but I don't think it's worth that, because we thought Kluber would be great, and he's already somewhat spiraling down. We already have Chris Sale to worry about, and I don't feel like he'd be a good clubhouse person. And I'd prefer to find somewhere else. And he's got, I don't know if they keep his. It
would be a veteran minimum contract.
Yeah. So
that's the only appeal, is the fact that, if you were to find a way to turn him around and get him good, you'd be having him on a veteran minimum deal.
Yeah.
So that was the idea of where it's like, like
it's like the Eric Hosmer deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, like if it doesn't work, you can cut him, and like it's like cutting just like a a random guy.
I mean, if that's the case, I mean, if it's a need to happen basis, then yeah, I mean, if it doesn't hurt our cap, it doesn't hurt anything, and he's willing to work. I mean, I feel like you will have to do some work on.
You're gonna have to do a lot of work
Yeah.
on him. So I don't know. That was just a little thought that I had. But Chris, before we go into NBA news, I wanted to just we had talked about at the beginning of this segment the fact that the Red Sox, they're surprising us. We thought they were going to be a lot worse. And, I said like, at least they aren't as bad as the Oakland A's, which, that's a very low bar to be above, but they have actually excelled well beyond that. But
aren't they leading the league in hits as a team?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, the Sox, they're doing fantastic, but I want to just say like, in terms of the Oakland A's, I feel awful for those fans right now. Like the ballpark is empty. They know the team's going to Las Vegas, and they're making the team absolutely horrible on purpose in order to prove that they should get out of that city. It's a travesty what's happened out there.
I will say, yeah, that's it's not something that you want with a fan base. It's something that I feel like all Boston fans for Red Sox thought that they were doing because they weren't doing anything on the offseason. I know I was thinking that they were trying to get up and sell the team because of how the front office didn't want to get big players. They didn't want to sign.
Well, I'm talking about the A's.
I know. Yeah. And
I mean, the A's have never signed big players. They've always played by the money ball mentality. Yep. And listen, I understand that is a huge part of today's game. Yeah. I understand that. And I don't really like the money ball philosophy because I don't think that it's like a pure money ball team hasn't won a World Series yet. Every team now uses it in order to evaluate players in terms of WAR, all these other different stats.
I will hold you there for a second because the Moneyball theory, to me, after watching the movie and reading the book, it's a little bit it's how you win in a way, but not win the end game of a championship.
Yes,
and I feel like it's a good way to evaluate things, like you mentioned, but it's not something that you should focus on, like low level money.
Yeah,
you should go ahead and you should go ahead and sign the big name people if you can.
Yeah.
But if
for a team like the A's, I understand it, but
yeah,
still the fact that they have a $34 million payroll, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Like it's not even like, oh yeah, you have a $90 million payroll and like you're doing what you can, but you're barely getting by. They're purposely the Moneyball A's of 2002 had more money than this A's team does on their current payroll. They've gotten cheaper since that era, which is insane.
That's not something that you want to send out to your fans.
No,
I
mean, at this point, why would you support a team like that?
Yeah. Granted, you had the A's going to the wild card in 2012 all the way to 2014, I think was their last year, which is great to have and see as a franchise who doesn't spend a lot of money, but gets people in the trading market, gets people drafts well. That's what their MO was. They drafted really well and traded well. But when it came to their sixth year, that's when they didn't re-sign the people. Like if you look at
John
Marcus Semien, he when his sixth year came up, he was traded to the Blue Jays.
Same thing with Josh Donaldson. Same thing with Matt Chapman. So like that's a pretty common thing. It's a pretty common theme. Really took out that ant there, Chris. Jesus. Oh my goodness. Wow. Massacre over here.
Don't mess with me.
No, I don't blame you. But yeah, it's really sad to see what they've done there, because I think that Oakland has lost everything now. So like they lost the Raiders, they're now losing the A's. It's just they lost the Warriors too. So like it's a mess for them. But
Oakland's becoming the new Las Vegas.
Yeah,
if you think about it, they lost in a way because they lost the Raiders. The Raiders went to Vegas. Now,
you mean Vegas is becoming the new Oakland?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah. I was confused for a second. I was like, Oakland is not becoming the new Vegas. No. That is far from the case.
That'd be another story.
That would be another story for sure. But I feel bad for them. I really do real for those fans. I hope that eventually they could get something to fix that over there, but doesn't look likely right now. But Chris, I want to jump over into NBA news because, I think that it's actually tipped off right now, but the Celtics and the 76ers are, playing in game 3 tonight. Series is tied 1 apiece. Game 1 did not go the Celtics' way. They just, James Harden looked like he was back in his prime, just like playing out of his mind. And, he went off. And then game 2 of the big story was Joel Embiid's coming back. How are the Celtics gonna, adapt to that?
MVP Joel Embiid.
Exactly. Yeah. No, newly minted MVP. Yeah. Like, how are the C's going to react to that? And then they went out and they absolutely beat the crap out of them. Yep. So, and some people had said, like, hey, could Embiid coming back potentially help this team? And it looks like, yeah, it did. Because the Celtics team throughout this year, their big thing is that they play down to competition. And I don't know why they could go for the throat, end a series, and, go out like that. But instead, they decide to prolong things. They try to, they don't always go for the throat, which I just have never understood with them. So Embiid comes back. I think they won like 121-87. So they went off and like,
there was like a 30-something point differential.
Yeah. So they went crazy. But there is one thing that's lacking in the series so far, and that's the performance of Jason Tatum. Game 2, in only 19 minutes played. I don't know why his minutes were limited, but my best guess is that it was that he only had 7 points in those 19 minutes. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Jason Tatum, but last year I gave him a bit of a break in the finals. I was pissed at him, but I understood that he had a shoulder injury, and it was like, hey, like, if this is something that's lingering and is a problem for him, I can understand to where, he can't compete and perform right now. But as of right now, I don't know of any injuries or, things, lingering with him or any problems. In my mind, he's completely healthy. So to have a 7-point performance in this type of a series is absolutely pitiful. I mean, credit to Jaylen Brown for going out there, dropping his 25 and doing what he needs to do. He's, really proving that he can handle the moment. He even showed that last year in the finals where, Tatum was hurt, to my belief, and not doing that well. Brown's out there dropping 35 every night and looking like a stud. So, I mean, I think that he can handle the moment great, but at the end of the day, Jason Tatum is your star. He's the best player on the court, best player on your team. Do you think he can ever get to the point where he can take over a postseason game and win you a series? Because right now it doesn't look like it.
It's hard to tell because he's still in his younger prime.
Yeah, I mean, he's still very young,
and I feel like he has the potential to do that. But I feel like the big stage might be a little bit too big for him.
Lights are a little too bright right now.
Which is fine when you're younger.
Yeah.
And he's been compared to
Kobe, to all these different people.
All these great names who are in the Hall of Fame, and which does carry some pressure on somebody like him.
100%.
And coming from Duke with the Hall of Fame coach that they had, and it's overall he has that potential, but he needs to stay healthy in season, and he needs to be able to hold himself accountable. Because I think it was the other day, I don't know if he did terrible or what, but I heard on the radio that they were saying how in his post-game press conference, he was saying how he needs to do better as a captain. He's not necessarily the captain, but he needs to do better and help others. But when it comes to his poor performance, he doesn't mention any of that. He just puts it aside. He doesn't take that accountability, which is something that you need as a high-end person.
Yeah.
He needs to take that accountability and move forward and basically say, yeah, I did terrible. I need to do better next time. We will do better next time as a team, and show that self-worth. Like, he needs to, like, I know the big talk with Jaylen Brown is, what's he going to do next year? Because isn't he entering a contract year this year?
Yep. Is he going to get that extension?
Is he going to get that extension? Does he even want to be in Boston anymore?
Yeah.
Is Jason Tatum too big for him?
Yeah. So that's the question. And I think, Chris, that you beg an interesting point. The thing with me and with Jason Tatum, I've had this kind of, internal thought for a while with Tatum. And I think that he's eventually gonna have to come to a crossroad and say, what type of superstar do I want to be? And, I'll say this, it's something that Michael Jordan, I'll even say for LeBron, I'm, a LeBron hater. I kind of not the biggest fan of him. I understand he's the all-time leading scorer. In my opinion, he's probably 2 on the all-time, in terms of all-time players, but I'd still go MJ over him. But it's something that, Kobe had, LeBron had, MJ had, all these great stars, they have it. And it's the fact that they understand, like, hey, the individual accolades are great, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how I perform if I don't win a championship.
Yeah.
And I think that, in Jason Tatum's mind right now, he probably sees a championship as like, oh, like this would be kind of fun. This would be like, cool. But like in his mind right now, he's worried about getting all-star appearances. He's worried about getting the MVP trophies. He's worried about getting the shoe deals, all this stuff, and, becoming this figure rather than the champion. In his mind, a champion is just like kind of like another little check on the box instead of like the big ticket goal. Which at his age is more than understandable. I get it. Like at his point, you haven't fully experienced that type of winning yet. Like even Tom Brady, when he kind of came in the league and was younger and he won, he made a comment on a podcast and he said, like, yeah, when I won those first 3 Super Bowls, he said that he made a comment about saying that, maybe there's more to life than this. And then the Pats didn't win a Super Bowl for 10 years. And he goes, when I won that 4th one, I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. I can't ever take this for granted. So, that is something that comes with age, comes with maturity. And maybe that will happen for Tatum at some point. Yeah. As of right now, I don't know if he has it. And the other type of superstar that you see that going into is, in my opinion, the prime example of it would be a Carmelo Anthony, to where Carmelo was, in my opinion, just really obsessed with the stats.
Yep.
He was obsessed with, being the face of New York, dropping 62 points, being that larger than life figure. And, listen, Carmelo Anthony, when he was on those Team USA teams, played like that, played like he had that edge. But in the NBA, he never seemed to, have that like championship aspiration that those other guys did. And I'm not saying that Carmelo's in that same stratosphere as LeBron and those guys. He's not. But at the end of the day, it's the mentality. And I don't know if Tatum is going to eventually have that Kobe-like mentality that, he says that he has.
I agree. I'm glad you made the point of Tom Brady, because I feel like the whole Patriots method of what matters more is the next ring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I feel like every team should go into that mentality of it doesn't matter about the self accolades. It matters about the team accolades, which don't mean to stray away from basketball, but football, like with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has, I believe, 5 MVPs, 4 MVPs.
Manning has 5.
Manning has 5. Okay. And 1 championship to show for it. And he's terrible in the postseason. He's more focused on that singular trophy than the group effort of the team. Now, granted, Green Bay didn't do anything for him in the offseason to sign people, big name players, or draft big name receivers. But going back to basketball, Tatum really needs to focus on not himself, but the team effort, which is what I think Jaylen Brown also needs to do, because I feel like he's also traveling down that I need to be the one that helps the team win the championship. I. There's no I in team, am I right? So
there isn't win though.
That's true. It takes.
Listen, there is that, and like Chris, let me explain this. Like, I think that Tatum is the best player on the court. I think in this series, I think that Tatum can take over this series.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen him do it yet. And listen, this episode might be posted tomorrow, and I'm going to look like a jackass. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, he could go out there, drop 35, and like, I'm going to look like an absolute idiot here. So, like, who knows how this game's going to happen, how this game's going to go. But in your mind, do you think this series can go, 7 games, could go, like, how far do you think this Sixers series could go? Because I think that if Tatum gets hot and this team figures it out,
they could go in. They could win in 5. I give them 5. Yeah.
You think they could go 5?
I say because game 5 is in Boston, right?
It would be, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like they can win in Boston.
I think the Sixers will get another one. I think we're at least going to see. I think
six.
I think we will at least see 6 because you're going to be down in Philly for 2.
Yep.
If there would be any game to do it, I would say it could be tonight because it's the
to get ahead or
to go ahead 2-1. I could see that potentially, and I mean, actually, you know what?
I feel like it does depend on Tatum.
Yeah.
Tatum, like they can't be reliant on Jaylen Brown. They can't be reliant on anyone.
I was going to say that Philly would go ahead, but I think Boston, like going back on what I say, they feel the urgency of falling behind in series. So if there would be any game where they would fall back, it would probably be in the second game down in Philly. That's most likely where it would happen because they'd get up 2-1. They'd feel great about themselves, thinking they could stroll in and go up 3-1, and then they drop one and they lay an egg. So like that could easily happen. I think I'm going to change my stance. If it were to happen, it would be in game 4.
I'll give you that one. Yeah,
that's why I changed my mind. That's the one where that would happen.
I feel like that could definitely happen. I mean, the Celtics are definitely better than the 76ers in the regular season. Am I correct?
Yes,
they did better in the regular season against the 76ers.
We're just a better team than them. I think we're deeper than them. I think we have more talent than them. Credit enough to Joel Embiid and James Harden. They're fantastic players. I just think that the Celtics are better.
It's like looking at the Milwaukee Bucks when we played them last year. If we shut down their main guy, granted they didn't have their number 2 guy the past 2 times that we played them in the playoffs. We have a shot.
Sure.
Which it's also just how you are mentally going into the game. We don't know what the deal is with Jason Tatum. I was shocked when he only put 7 up, like you mentioned. That's uncharacteristic of him.
Yeah.
And thankfully they pulled out the W because going down 2-0 to Philly would just be probably a nightmare.
Yeah.
And overall, I feel like they do have a shot. I feel like if they do go, they would probably win 6, maybe 7, depending on how these next 2 days go.
I don't know, man.
We don't know.
It's always a guessing game. We're gonna have to see how it goes. But my thoughts is this will be a 6-game series. I think Philly will take a game 4 if the Celtics go up tonight. If the Celtics lose it tonight, I think that they'll come out with a fire in game 4 and most likely do what they did in game 2. That's just the way they play. I don't know. I don't like that, like the fact that they play like that. But at the end of the day, you just have to know how to call it, and that's how they play. So, Chris, before we do go down to the wire and end things off, tomorrow is going to be a really fun day. It's the Kentucky Derby.
And it's supposed to be nice and warm too.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So, I know that I mentioned to you that we're going to talk about the Kentucky Derby before the show, and you got a little like worried, and I was like, Chris, I don't know any of the horses. I'm like, we're a sports show. I don't know that much.
Me neither.
But just like the day of the Kentucky Derby, the aesthetic of it, it's one of the cooler days of the year.
Celebrities come out.
Celebrities come out. And then even here on Bryant's campus, people dress up super nice and fancy. I know we'll probably be out derbying tomorrow. I don't know where it'll be, whether that's at P.O. Block or whether we end up going to Finn's. Whatever that it's
at P.O. Block, because I don't really want to be dropping a lot of money tomorrow at Finn's.
Yeah, it's a $10 cover just to get in.
Yep, that's too much for me.
And like, it's not. Here's the thing, a $10 cover isn't too much for me. That's the thing.
I'd rather go free $99 if I were you, though.
What's up?
I'd rather go the free $99 price.
Oh yeah, but let me say this: it's not about it being $10. It's a $10 cover at Finn's.
Yeah,
that's the thing. If it was a $10 cover and it's going to be a great club or great bar and you're gonna have a fun time, yeah. What at the end of the day, it's $10. But there, it's always a shot in the dark, man. You don't know. So unless you find out that the whole school's going there and it's going to be a packed house, that's one thing. But I'm really hoping it's at PO because I really don't want to have to go there.
No, it's because somebody made a good point at the group chat on our senior group chat. Like they don't want to. If you're gonna stay there the whole day, fine. But if you're just planning on staying for like a couple hours, why waste your money when you could easily do it here? Where
just have a good day.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's supposed to be a great day.
Yeah, like it. I think last year a lot of people went because at certain points I think there was some rain, so people were like, yeah, let's go like inside and go grab a drink, do whatever you want. But this is different. Like if it's gonna be this nice out, I'd rather kind of end things where we started it. At Bryant on campus. I think it'll be a fun day. I'm excited for it.
I agree with you. I'm thrilled to have it. It'll be my first Derby day, so
nice.
I'm looking forward to it. And it should be a good fun day overall.
That's awesome, man. You before we do go, you mentioned the senior group chat.
Yes.
So that's the funniest thing. We have a group chat on GroupMe with what's supposed to be the entire senior class.
It's not.
It's not all of them, but like would you say it's the majority?
Probably.
I think we at least have over 50% by now.
Probably, yeah.
So yeah, it's a good majority of the grade. And like, you know, you would think that like sometimes it's like, hey guys, we have this event going on, blah, blah, blah. But the funnier thing about it, it's like this like other friend group. It's not our friend group, but it's like this other friend group of like 10 kids. Yeah. And like they just have like very personal conversations in front of 500 people. And it's so weird. It's like you're just like peering into these people's lives. And it's like I'm just gonna like make up a name. Yo, Mary, like what are you doing later? And then you know, Adrian like comes in and says like, oh, like meet me here. And it's like so weird. It just feels like it just feels like so personal. I'm like, I don't like this at all.
It's you say that it's personal, but it's like a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Which is something that I feel like is great to have in a senior group that we're graduating in.
Yeah.
I believe it is.
This senior class, in my opinion, feels like the most kind of like family kind of closest. Cause you know, we went through all kind of the stuff with COVID. That was kind of a bunch of BS. And I think all of us kind of bonded over that. And now coming out of it, I think we're in a great spot.
Yeah. And
at this point, like no one cares about like the groups and all this stuff. Like everyone just wants to have a good time now.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So I'm happy about that.
And it's nice that I was looking at the weather, knock on wood, but it looks like we're out of the bad, rainy, crappy weather.
I wouldn't say that just yet, man.
I'm hoping.
It is New England. I've had times where I've gone to Worcester and it's 50 degrees and I'm wearing jeans in June.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? This is a nightmare. So like, don't get me feeling good just yet. Yeah. Thank you. It's always a scary time. So hopefully that ends up working itself out. But Chris, we are now down to the wire. So we're going to wrap up what we talked about and send you guys on your way into the weekend, into the Kentucky Derby weekend. That is, again, just recapping the show. It's Cinco de Mayo here at Bryant University. Yep. So hope you guys are enjoying the day. Get out there, have a fun night. Be safe, obviously. But yeah, we started the show off talking about, you know, the Red Sox on their absolutely amazing 6-game winning streak. Hopefully they can continue that tonight and keep things going. You know, being relatively surprising this year. So I'm happy with them. We also talked about the Celtics as they get ready for game 3 against the Philadelphia 76ers. And we ended things off talking about the Kentucky Derby and all the festivities that go on with that. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show again. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to shout out at this point? Like maybe like, you know, I'll give the floor is yours.
Not that I can say, but just
any final words?
Just keep on smiling.
Okay. I love to see it. All right. Well, I'll say on my end, if you guys aren't following Down to the Wire at this point, make sure you guys go follow us on Instagram. You know, that's at down.to-the-wire. And then you can find links to all our streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anything that's on there. So make sure you go check us out on there. Really do appreciate all you guys' support. You've been listening to WJMF 88.7 HD2 Smithfield, Providence. From Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Chris Condon.
And we hope you guys have a great weekend. Take care and peace out.